Hi, my name is Tim Wright. I've been part of our pastoral staff here for more than 20 years. I currently serve as our executive pastor, and I'm glad for the opportunity to continue in our Beatitudes series. Do you have certain kinds of people that you easily relate to? The kinds of people that you're drawn to? Those people that, even if you don't know them, when you see them in a social setting, you just know that you probably have similar interests or hobbies, maybe even priorities or personalities. For some of you who work out all the time, it might be the other person who you know is really into running or fitness of some kind. Maybe it's the person who has made the same education choices for their kids, and you know that you could probably talk to them about so many similar perspectives. Or maybe it's the person who drives the same kind of car that you do for the same reasons you do. I don't drive a motorcycle, but I'm guessing it's what everyone who drives a motorcycle thinks when they give the motorcycle wave to another rider. You know what I'm saying. Whatever the situation, there are other people you can look at and pretty confidently say, these are my people. Then there are the other kinds of people that, if you are honest, you can say, I don't really relate to them. I probably don't share the same interests, probably not much in common. These are people that you might even say, I can do without them. I think most of us can resonate with this. There are people that we can honestly do without, and then there are people we're drawn to, people that we can look to and say, those are my people. As we look at meekness today, I'd like to remind you that God thinks about my kind of people too. And God has a kind of people. It's meek people. God has always identified with the meek. Turn to Matthew 5. Let's read Matthew 5, verses 3 to 5 together. Here's what it says. Jesus is talking, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." Blessed are the meek. Well, quick reminder, as we've been studying this, what does blessed mean? Blessed are the meek. Well, blessed isn't happiness. It actually describes our well-being as we relate to God. When you or I respond to Jesus' invitation, our relationship with God changes. You're blessed, even if your circumstances never change and you don't yet see the blessing working itself out. What's meekness? It's this idea of gentleness or humility. One definition says this: the meek are those who do not assert themselves over others to further their own agendas in their own strength. Let me say it again. The meek are those who do not assert themselves over others to further their own agendas in their own strength. I'm not sure how much you've thought about meekness lately. Most of us want to be successful. We want to be impactful. We want to confidently know not just what we want, but also how to go about getting it. Meekness? It's not really a popular idea for any of us. It's been said that the last thing the average man wants to be known for is meekness. Remember when I said that God has always identified with the meek? Well, the Old Testament is filled with passages reminding the holy and humble that they can still have confidence in God, even when the wicked seem to always triumph. Reading the Old Testament, we see that even when people felt they were in bondage to the weight and sin of others, God wanted them to know that He was still in control. Psalm 37 is a great passage to read to see this. Well, that feeling of bondage didn't go away. By the time Jesus preaches this sermon in Matthew 5, there are still many who felt the weight and the sin of others, especially in their bondage to Rome. Everyone felt that weight in some way, and everyone had a different way they were dealing with it in their heart. To those who felt deprived and disenfranchised, Jesus was talking to them to remind them that even if their circumstances on earth would never change, the blessings of God would eventually be tangible. Here, the promise is that the meek will, with Jesus, inherit the earth. But there were others in the crowd who were also in bondage to Rome, and yet their response was self-righteousness and spiritual pride. Jesus is also saying something to them here. He's saying that there's no room for self-righteousness, No room for spiritual pride. He's calling for a broken spirit, a mourning heart, and now he's calling for meekness. Friends, meekness can only grow from the heart of someone who has a proper view of both God and themselves. In fact, meekness isn't optional. It's crucial to the Christian life. It starts with being connected to Jesus. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." That's Matthew 11, 28 and 29. It also means living up to Paul's urging in Ephesians 4 when he said, "As a prisoner for the Lord then, I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you received." And then he says, "Be completely humble and gentle." It's something we're to choose to repeatedly put on in our walk with Jesus. In Colossians 3:12, Paul says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves, put on compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." We also see that meekness is a product of the Spirit found in the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, which is meekness, and self-control. Did you also know that meekness is how we suffer well and how we win others to Jesus? Peter in 1 Peter 3 instructs us, and he says, "But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect, keeping a clear conscience so that those who speak maliciously against your good behavior in Christ may be ashamed of their slander." Meekness isn't popular, and it's not what most of us desire, but it's not optional. It's crucial for those who know Jesus. It's evidence that we are still dependent on Jesus, still yoked to him, that we are still in step with him and the Spirit. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Most of us who are going over this study are going to be with other people. So as you're with other people, as you get started in your discussion, I'd like you to start with this question. Why is it true that the last thing most of us want to be known for is meekness? Why? Why is that? What does it mean? Let's get started there. Thanks for joining us in our study of the Beatitudes.